It's sink or swim time for Michael and KITT. In a swashbuckling search for forbidden treasure.
You can't be serious. I don't believe it.
Knight Rider, Sunday.
Production 57801, Return to CADIZ. The working title of this episode was To Forgive Divine. It was written by Larry Forrester and directed by Alan Meyerson. This episode originally aired on NBC Sunday, 8 p.m., October 30th, 1983. It was filmed May 10th through the 19th of 1983. It was the 22nd episode produced, but the 26th episode to air. This is actually the very first episode filmed for Season 2. The synopsis reads as follows. When a young scuba diver is nearly killed diving an old shipwreck, Michael investigates and realizes that his accident was no accident at all. So let's dig in. So right here at the very beginning, we get April coming through on KITT's monitor, played by, of course, Rebecca Holden. And even though we've already seen April in the past few episodes, this is actually Rebecca Holden's first episode to be filmed. We asked Rebecca about this many years ago, and she replied, "The first day on any new job can be nerve-wracking, regardless of whether the job is a television series or not. So of course I was nervous getting out of my trailer to walk to the set at the beach to shoot our very first scene." Which, by the way, the very first scene is actually the last scene that we see in this episode, where she's pulling his water wings. "But everyone was so welcoming and made me feel so at ease. I think from that very first moment, there was chemistry, and I knew right away that we were all going to be a great team." So again, we are, there's going to be a lot of things in this episode that are going to look a little different and a little off because of the order that they were filmed in. So here we have Michael in the hero car. This is the same hero car that they used for the first season. But if you'll notice, Michael Chaffee's overhead console is gone from this car. It's replaced by this squared off blocky piece that we actually saw in the first season in the backup to the hero car. Now it's in the hero car, but that's only temporary. I think what the situation was is they probably removed that Chaffee overhead console for visibility purposes, and they didn't have their new one ready yet, so they put this in just temporarily for filming. That would be my guess. KITT's driving on the beach, about to test out his water wings. This is the roll-caged acrylic windowed jump car. We can see here the roll cage inside. Director Alan Meyerson recalls the issues he had filming KITT out here on the sandy beach. The car didn't run well on the loose sand and often got stuck. It was decided to not try to run the car on the wet sand, but the harder and more manageable sand, so as to not leave tracks in the sand for subsequent takes. On the beach. And then we see a nice view of KITT's voice box on the insert dash on the soundstage. You can see we're back to the white pursuit light. And again, that's because this is the first episode filmed for Season 2, and it was filmed prior to Goliath, which, during that 5.5-week hiatus is when they redid the dashboard, and his light went from white to red. Another view here of the roll cage jump car. You get a little bit better look at the acrylic window here, the roll cage, and something funky going on right here with the front bumper. And then whenever they show this close-up, this is now the formerly back up to the hero car. And forgive me if I keep calling it that throughout Season 2, but this is now the insert car for Season 2, the one that they use primarily for filming the inside scenes. And if you could see through this sail panel, you'd see those chrome coat hooks that we talked about before. This is our car that we own, and if we zoom in here, you can see the same sticker dash that the car had through most of Season 1. But one change that this car does have is it now has a copy of the Chaffee overhead console, not the original one with the switches and lights. This is just a plug that came out of the same mold, and that's in this car, I believe, only this episode. This is a 1-episode deal where they have this plug in here, and again, they're in the process of switching up the rolls for the cars, making the new overhead consoles, the smaller form-fitting one that they would use throughout the rest of season 2 and really seasons 3 and 4. This is the basic shape, but they didn't have it ready yet, so that's why they have this console in place for this car in this episode. And he pops his trunk. We can see that KITT's missing his back panel here. And to this day, this back panel is missing from this car. And the reason they removed this is because they had a pull wire that ran from the trunk release, and it ran along the passenger side here to a cable that was in the passenger compartment that someone could pull to pop the trunk. And they put those in because they kept killing batteries on these cars with all the electronics and the scanner, and they needed a way to manually open the trunk easily, so they put in these pull handles. Also, they wanted a way when KITT was driving by himself, they needed a quick and easy way for the trunk to pop open. So that cable runs through here, and it kind of curves out into the trunk area and hooks in here, so they couldn't have the panel there anyways, but that's why it's removed there. And then we see Michael getting in the car, and here we get a better look at that dash. So again, still no pods. If you remember back in the final verdict, we saw this dash it didn't have pods then, and we can see here it's got just the indents of the countdown lights and just some stickers here. But this dash is going to be switched out here pretty quick, so it won't last too long. And then we're back to the hero car, which for this episode they're still using as the insert car, which is what they did in the first season. I know, I'm sure this is a little confusing, but stay with me. You remember back in season 1, we talked about these imperfections up here in the headliner and how they would play a role in season 2. These imperfections are one of the ways we can tie the hero car from season 1 that had the Chaffee overhead console with the switches and lights and everything. This is the way we can tie it, one of the ways, to season 2. It's these imperfections in the headliner right here. So we can see here, just like we talked about a minute ago, we've got this bulky overhead console, which the backup to the hero car had in season 1. So if you're following, season 1, the backup to the hero car had this console. The hero car had the Chaffee style console. Now we're at the first episode of season 2, and now the backup car has the Chaffee style overhead console, albeit not the one with switches and lights. And the hero car has this blocky monstrosity here. So there you go. Also take note, KITT's got a seatbelt right here, lap belt. All of the cars had lap belts in them. One of our originals still has the lap belts, but that's what that is right there. And here we get the first appearance in the episode of the Flivver car, roll caged Volkswagen powered dune buggy. There's a little bit better of a look. Looks like the door trim has fallen off. They have a piece of tape on it right there. Flying over. There's a nice look at the underside. Clearly not a Trans Am. Oh, look at that. I just noticed this. Minnow 4. What do you think that's an in-joke to Gilligan's Island? You think? I think. And take a look at this. Look at all the people back here parked along the side of the road, just bystanders, just watching KITT flying over the boat here. And take a look at this. That looks like a white Trans Am right there, doesn't it? Or a Camaro. Parked right there. Anyways. So now we're at the hospital, and in reality, this is actually one of the office buildings at Universal Studios. It's the same building that we see, we see it in a number of episodes. The only one that comes to my mind right now is Voodoo Night, ironically. Yeah, this is at Universal Studios. We'll get a better look at it here in a bit. And of course, we have the return of Anne Lockhart here, as Jennifer Shell. Of course, she was in the beginning of season 1 in Good Day at White Rock as Sherry Benson, but here she is making her second and final appearance in the series. Yeah, and here's another look at that building at Universal. So here's the hero car, and get a good look at the dash. We can still see that we've now reverted back to the squared voice box, right? Because the first one filmed for the season. And then we cut to this scene, and this is, in production order, the debut of the left-hand blind drive car. So we've seen it, again, we saw it in Goliath, we saw it in Brother's Keeper, we've seen it in some of the other episodes we've covered, but this is the first time that they used it for filming. And the left-hand blind drive car, if you're not familiar, this is a train wreck car, and it's very easy to spot in Season 2, and especially early Season 2. It's got the Chaffee style overhead console, which again, this is only temporary. This is going to get swapped out too for a more form-fitting one. And we've got the rear view mirror mount here, and it has a passenger side sun visor. So between those things and the obvious, roundness of the driver's side PMD seat versus the kind of more angular regular seat, plus it's got a camera tow bar, which you can't see here, and fog light grills. So pretty easy to spot. We'll follow this car as it evolves throughout the series. Quick blink and you'll miss it cameo here of one of the Universal Studios trucks, aka the Comtron trucks, here in the background. And we've got the hero car here. Michael is wearing his Nikes. Wonder if that's product placement, probably. And then we move inside, and we can see that we're back in the hero car with the squared overhead console. Michael has this, it's a shell that turns into a gold coin magically, but this is the debut of the chemical analyzer, which suspiciously looks, the box in shape kind of looks similar to the blood pressure analyzer from Chariot of Gold. But this is the chemical analyzer, and somehow it has the ability to clean, to dissolve shells from gold coins. I don't know. But we'll see this chemical analyzer a few more times in Season 2, and then it's redesigned for Season 3 and Season 4. And Michael closing the trunk. We're still in the hero car. And this is kind of the shot, I said earlier with the imperfections on the headliner. That was one way to tie the two. But this is really the shot that whenever we first, realized what was going on, this is the shot that confirmed it, right? Because we've got the full dash in here, the same dash that we saw at the end of Season 1, but now we see the bulky overhead console. So this is, between this and that other one, that's how we tie these two cars together, just by watching the show, not by looking at any production paperwork or anything like that. So now we move here, and now we're in the insert car, the formerly back up to the hero car. Where's our chrome co-hooks and coat hooks, and the Chaffee overhead plug right there. And see, whenever we see the close-up of Michael, now we're seeing that Chaffee drop down. Okay, enough of that. Admittedly, it gets a little bit difficult in these first handful of episodes in Season 2 to be able to determine how many different Trans Ams the production was using. And with us not having too many production call sheets of this time, unfortunately, we're left to what we can see on screen and our best guess. But we do know that for Return to CADIZ, they used 8 different cars. Number 1 was the hero car. Number 2, the roll-caged acrylic window jump car. Number 3, the insert car, formerly the backup to the hero car in Season 1. Number 4, the flivver car. Number 5, the left-hand blind drive car. Number 6, the hardtop stunt car. Number 7, a T-top stunt car. And number 8, another T-top stunt car. Only the hero car and the insert car still exist today. So those are your 8 cars from Return to CADIZ. Michael arrives at the Three Shells restaurant. In reality, this is Paradise Cove in Malibu. Maybe most famously known for being a filming location for the Rockford Files. But let's take a look at it today as best as we can. That's the same building there. So let's see if we can get a better look here. Let's see if there's any of these other aerial views that show anything better. Oh, there's the front of it. So it's changed a bit, as you can see, but all still there. You can go in and sit at the same booth that Jennifer and Michael sat at if you want. And now we have Guy Stockwell here making, again, his second appearance. He was in Night Moves in Season 1. So here is in Season 2. This is the brother of Dean Stockwell of Quantum Leap fame, as you may have recalled me saying on the previous episode. And then yet another famous scene where Devon's flipping the coin in the air, and this one would end up in the season 2 opening intro credits. All right, so now we have our first appearance of the Semi in season 2 in terms of production order. And a couple things to note. So they're still in transition from renovating the inside of this Semi. And we touched upon this in Brothers Keeper, I believe. But the back wall here is still season 1 style, if you'll notice that. The side wall, the floor, is now updated to season 2. But you can see that they have yet to add the fake wood paneling where the black is, and they also add a wood paneling surround to this boomerang unit. So none of that's been done yet. You can also see here the walls removed, and we can see part of the stage here. So kind of just a neat little transition episode. And when we turn to this point of view, again, you can see that wall is still gone, and you can see part of the stage over here on the left-hand side. So April's doing some diagnostic tests on KITT with this light up wand. And just something neat to note, this wand, I believe, is in private hands. And someone posted about it many, many years ago online. But this piece still exists, and I think it's owned by a collector. And then we turn to this angle. So we can see that KITT's water wings are his third stage aquatic synthesizer. We can see here it's called the Amphibious Systems Protocol. And this book will make a blink and you'll miss it appearance along with the emergency schematic blueprint from Goliath. They'll both appear on the table in the Semi in Voodoo Night, the very last episode. So it's not the last time we see this. And I always thought this scene was neat. When Michael's talking to Devon via KITT's monitor, Michael actually starts the car twice, if you've ever noticed that. He'll start it and then start it again and then drive off. And we've got here on Zachary Sloat's boat, we've got an appearance by Jack Gill once again. And interestingly, a note in this scene where Manley's talking to him, he actually calls him Jack. That's kind of neat. So his character's name was Jack as well. And we see this shot not really framed properly or framed differently from what we're used to, but this is the insert car. And we can see here the Chaffee overhead console is not as, this is the copy without the electronics in it, but you can see it's not as form-fitting as the original one. You get a brief look at a white wire way over here, but other than that, it's we've got some gaffer's tape over here. Is it gaff tape or gaffer's tape? I don't know. Can you guys let me know? Or is it both? And I always thought this was funny how Devon just hides behind Sloat's book. Professor Zachary Sloat. I wonder if we could, guess we can't read that. And the first time we see the left-hand blind drive car in action, so this is actually being driven and used, and we can see we've got a stuck relay on the scanner, but that's all right. And another cool Trans Am cameo. We have a 1983 Daytona edition Trans Am here, and it looks like, yeah, it's a pace car. It's the pace car edition, but it's got the pace car decals on it, and you could get them, I think, both ways. But this one says NASCAR in the back, and it has the pace car decals. That's pretty cool. And the bad guy, whatever his name is, does he have a name? Carl. That's Carl Rossler, I think. He's getting away in the ambulance here, and how do you know something's going to happen to a vehicle on Knight Rider? You look for bracing on the inside. So we can see that this ambulance has some pretty heavy-duty bracing, which we know means it's going to do a flip. And we get this nice point of view shot. This is the roll cage acrylic window jump car. And if you'll notice, it still has its Trans Am, the factory stick-on trim, which at this point in the series, by season 2, I think all of the cars had the rivet-on style, except this one. This will get changed here pretty quick. But we can also see the bolt that they have in the center of the hubcap to hold it on. And then we move to this side, and still the same jump car here. See the roll cage, and it's got 83 Trans Am seats in it at this point. So here we've got one of the Trainwreck Trans Ams. This is a new one for season 2, and we can see we've got the non clear or tinted factory windshield. We've got a stock dashboard. We've got T-tops. We've got 1983 style seats. This is the same car that we see skiing in Merchants of Death. So here it is making its first appearance production-wise in the series. And yet another F-body cameo. Here's an older, what is that, 77 or 78 Firebird. Doesn't look like it's Trans Am. Looks like it's maybe a Firebird or a SE or a Spree or whatever they had back then. A Redbird, I don't know. But it's neat. Throughout this scene, this car is just kind of hovering behind Michael. He never really passes or falls back, just kind of hovers right there. Michael's racing over to the three shells here, and look in the background here. You can see the reflection of some of the Knight Rider crew in the window. And we have April going undercover. You know, if you think about it, in season 1, did Bonnie ever really go undercover? Not really. I mean, she went to Helios, but she wasn't undercover. But we noticed that April here is getting out in the field, and she even has April Curtis RN name tag. So how about that? So this is interesting. Take a look at this. So Michael is in the hero car, but look, now all of a sudden we have Michael Chaffee's original overhead console with the displays and the switches. So how can that be? I'll tell you how that can be. This scene was filmed on the first day of filming for Return to CADIZ. That same first day where Rebecca Holden was on set. So if you think about it, you know, they're going to try and film most or all of their scenes at a given location in a day or two, right? So that first day, they filmed the scenes at the end of the episode with Rebecca Holden pulling the water wings, and you'll see when we get to that, at that point, those scenes also still have Chaffee's overhead console complete like this. So this scene was filmed that same day. But what happened is between that first day of filming and subsequent days of filming, they pulled this overhead console out of the car. So because of that, you can date when this console came out of the hero car. So let's think about this. So Michael Chaffee built the original hero car in April of 1982. This episode was filmed, it started to film on May 10th of 1983. And so this console, I don't have the call sheets in front of me, but this console probably was removed May 10th or May 11th or May 12th. So the Chaffee style overhead console was in the hero car for 13 months. And after that, it was never in there again. How about that? That's some detective work for you. And then we cut to the Flivver car. And I point this out because this is kind of a neat look at the back of the Flivver car. And take a look at all the screws that are holding the blackout in. And there's even some in the bumper here. There's 4 over here, 2 over here. So very crude and, of course, never meant to be seen, you know, on Blu-ray 40 years later. So take a look at this. So now Michael's getting ready to turbo boost KITT off of the pier, and now we're in the hero car, but now we have this squared off overhead because this scene was filmed at a different time later than the scene we just saw. And now we switch to a Jack Sessom's miniature model, which we've covered before, but just like we saw in Brothers Keeper, we've got another little in-joke here from Jack Sessom's. We have a Jack Loves Bev right here on the railing. Again, Bev was his wife, so that's just pretty neat. And we get some great close-up views of the model here. Now, again, this is the model design 1, right? They redesigned the shell of the car later in the series. So this is kind of an earlier design that's less authentic to the Trans Am that it will become later on. But still some great shots here. And then we move to this neat interior shot, and we've got we can see the stock dashboard, but we've got just a half shell on top. We've got the steering wheel here, dome light, and no seatbelts. So this is another car. This one might be, not 100% sure, this might be the same car that they ended up trashing for Goliath whenever he's stranded out in the desert. Not 100% sure on that, though. We asked Jack Gill many years ago about this particular scene and how they achieved the interior shots of what appears to be Michael and KITT out on the ocean. And Jack Gill recalls, the only thing I remember doing with David that has to do with the water was on a soundstage with the car in a tank. We sprayed lots of water on the windshield and side windows for his coverage. And then director Alan Meyerson also added his memories of this scene, and those were, I believe the water illusion was accomplished by several gimmicks. Having KITT actually drive a short distance on a platform submerged under the water for wider shots, and some rear projection for the closer work inside the cabin of the car. Then we have Michael here, and we have fake Zachary Sloat, not Guy Stockwell there. And then we move to the final scene of the series, which again was the first one shot for the episode. And you get a decent look here at the back of the scanner bar there. And April's holding some kind of a controller mechanism. And here's what I was saying. So we come over to here and we see Michael Chaffee's original overhead. Again, first scene shot for the episode, and that's why. But then we move to these pickup shots on the inside, and now we're still in the hero car, but this was filmed on a different day. So this was filmed the first day. We've got the Chaffee overhead, and then this was filmed on a subsequent day, and we can see that they've replaced that overhead console. And we move to this outside scene, and this was filmed that first day again, right? We're back to the Chaffee style overhead. There's the white wire right over there. And with that, it's time to leave CADIZ. Join us next time to get your feline fix of the fantastic featured episode, KITT the Cat.
Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar!
Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.